Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Arthur is a 1981 American romantic comedy film that was written and directed by Steve Gordon. It stars Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli, and John Gielgud. The storyline goes that wealthy New York City playboy Arthur Bach, played by Dudley Moore, is perpetually drunk and has completely lost control of where he's going in life. He's supported by his sharp-tongued and quick-witted butler, Hobson, played by John Gielgud. Arthur reluctantly prepares to enter into an arranged marriage with heiress Susan Johnson, played by Jill Eikenberry. When he meets Linda, played by Liza Minnelli, who's a waitress from Queens, he falls head over heels in love with her. But if he backs out of his engagement with Susan, he may lose his entire fortune. Writer and director Steve Gordon had originally wanted to cast George Segal in the lead role of the film. After the box office success of the movie 10 from 1979, Dudley Moore was chosen to replace Segal. This movie was actually the second time that Moore replaced Segal. Segal was originally cast for the lead role in 10, but he ended up walking off the set shortly before filming began. This was reportedly rumored that he did this because Julie Andrews' role had been built up much more than his. After the movie 10 came out, Segal was asked by reporters if he had seen the movie. Allegedly, he replied to him with a finger gesture. According to the producers, they felt John Gielgud never really understood the jokes that he was giving. And after the film came out, he was kind of confused at the success of the movie. He stated that he thought Liza was very good in the film and was really underestimated by the critics. He said that Dudley Moore screamed too much at the beginning of the film, but he got much better all through it and came out to be very charming and cooperative in the scenes that he shot with him. Dudley Moore is said to have based his performance partly on Peter Cook, whose excessive drinking had soured his and Moore's comedic partnership in the 1970s. Moore and the director argued over the accent of Arthur. Moore stated to the director that he couldn't possibly do it with an American accent, since he would spend half his time trying to get his vowels right. The two continued to argue back and forth on whether they should use an American accent, even after filming had started. But Moore ended up winning out. John Gielgud originally thought that he was badly cast for the film and that he was in the wrong role completely. He was also not very keen on working outside the UK for long periods of time, and he didn't want to do the film at all. He thought it was completely vulgar, and he didn't think that he fit into this farce. But the paycheck was way too good for him to turn it down. His agent said it would bring him attention from the younger audience, something he felt like the actor needed. He found that despite their 30-year age gap, he got along surprisingly well with Dudley Moore. At one point during the production, Liza Minnelli was supposed to board a bus on Fifth Avenue. When a real bus came along, she boarded it thinking it was the movie bus. Not until she was halfway down the block did she realize her blunder, when she looked back and saw the whole crew just cracking up at her mistake. The scene where Arthur drives his race car around a track was shot at the now-defunct Danbury Fair Race Arena in Connecticut. The type of car that he drove had never been raced there. It was primarily used for modified stock cars and was considered one of America's greatest short tracks. Sadly, despite its great success, the land became too valuable and it gave way to a shopping mall. During the famous moose scene, Dudley Moore kept ad-libbing so much that Stephen Elliott got enraged at having to do so many takes. and he finally said, "Will you forget about the moose for now?" You can tell by Moore's reaction that this wasn't in the script at all. Moore is somewhat speechless. The director halted filming and begged Moore to play the scene straight. That's why Elliot's tone changed so suddenly. Liza Minnelli had one scene that caused her some problems. She was constantly breaking up. From the scene with the horse, because the horse was making really funny sounds and trying to lick her. She most noticeably breaks up when it snorted, and she laughs, but she quickly recovers and finishes her lines. Dudley was not the first choice to play this role, as the producers originally wanted an American actor. They eventually offered the part to Moore after other stars such as James Caan, Al Pacino, Robert Redford, and John Travolta turned them down for this part. At the time of shooting in New York City in the summer of 1980, this drew thousands of onlookers who were curious about Liza Minnelli's new project. The movie's song, Arthur's Theme, which is the best that you can do, was co-written by Christopher Cross, Burt Bacharach, Carol Sager, and Peter Allen. Peter Allen was Liza Minnelli's ex-husband, and his only contribution to the song was its famous chorus lyric, "When you get caught between the moon and New York City, the best that you can do is fall in love." He came up with this line while sitting on a plane that was stuck in a holding pattern over New York at night, waiting for it to land at JFK International Airport. Despite his minimal contribution to the song, the other three songwriters insisted that Allen receive songwriting credit for it. He ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Song just for this very small but very important contribution. Dudley Moore became an unlikely Hollywood heartthrob, portraying a cuddly pipsqueak whose charms melted hearts in the movie 10 and in this film. But sadly, in 1999, he learned that he had an incurable brain disorder that was similar to Parkinson's, which created balance problems and other symptoms that kind of mimicked the way a person would act if they were drunk. As a matter of fact, people actually thought that was what was happening, that he was drinking too much. Sadly, he was at the beginnings of a very slow, torturous death, and eventually died in his home in New Jersey from pneumonia complications from the progressive disease. Take a look back at this funny film. Dudley Moore just makes you laugh when you look at him. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.